Hello, class. Our group is on doing Michael Scott from The Office. I'm Ezekiel Serrano.
Jacob Nguyen.
Daisy Giles.
I'm Jason Yee.
All right, starting off with leadership theories. The leader that we chose for our paper is Michael Scott from the hit TV sitcom The Office. Portrayed as a mockumentary-style series, The Office follows a paper company called Dunder Mifflin and its employees, showcasing its quirky and chaotic everyday operations. The branch the series covers is the Scranton branch in Pennsylvania. Michael Scott is the original manager of The Office and is essentially one of the main characters. His character in the series is very dynamic, as his moods, actions, and personalities go all over the place. Specifically in season 6, there are numerous moments when Michael's characteristics could fall into the different categories of leadership style. However, the most evident leadership styles that I believe Michael conveys in this season is participative leadership and entrepreneurial leadership. So during episode 3 of the season, Jim, a former salesman of Dunder Mifflin, was recently promoted as Michael's co-manager to help co-run the branch. In the episode, they found out that the company had a very limited budget to give the branch employees a raise, and both the managers were tasked with the burden of deciding who to give the raises to. In the past, it was always only Michael who had to deal with making the tough decisions. And as a newly instated co-manager, Jim was very eager with his ideas in deciding how to go about giving the raises. So welcoming his new co-manager, Michael decided to let Jim have the final say in deciding who they should give the raises to. In this moment, Michael displayed participative leadership through sharing decision-making with his colleague while also working with him side by side. So Jim decided to give the raises to the salesmen only because they play a vital role in creating revenue for the company. So when telling their employees this decision, many of them were enraged and complained that it's not fair for them because they all work equally as hard. And so to diffuse the situation, Michael had to jump in and try to strive for a consensus that everyone agrees on to keep up morale and make everyone happy. With the intention of fulfilling his employees' pleas, Michael's action during this moment fall under the theory of servant leadership. One of Michael's biggest characteristics is his need to be approved and liked by others. So by being a servant of his employees and emphasizing collaboration with their needs, Michael can gain their trust and promote stewardship. Doing so helps him build a better community in the office and with good morale and chemistry. And then in another episode of season 6, the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin is in the process of being bought out by another company because their corporation went bankrupt. In the episode, a banker that represents a potential company that will buy the Scranton branch visits the office and to inspect it and interview HR department before going through with the purchase. And so to charm and impress the banker, Michael made some drastic aesthetic and operational changes to the office. One big facade Michael made was to replace the receptionist with a super smart AI computer that speaks called Computron. Behind was actually just another salesman talking through an intercom in a robot voice. Michael implemented this change to make it seem like the branch's technology more advanced and set them apart from others. Another aspect Michael changed was swapping out a rather grumpy and older salesman with an actor who was younger and much more friendly. He did this to give the office a more charismatic presence to help sway the banker. These changes that Michael implemented conveys that he follows an entrepreneurial type of leadership. A big characteristic that entrepreneurial leadership has is having a strong achievement drive and sensible risk-taking. Michael made these rather risky changes with the best intentions to save their branch. He had an optimistic vision for the branch's future. Michael's action also warrant the charismatic leadership theory. As a charismatic leader, he has great visions and is willing to take risks. Like how he made the changes to impress the banker, he is able to influence others by articulating an appealing vision.
Followership analysis. In season 6 of The Office, Michael was at the peak of his career, being the most successful manager and only standing branch after being bought out by Sabre. The best way to describe Michael is unique, from the way he leads the office to the way he tries to boost morale. Everything he does is genuinely him. Michael is a very indirect leader that has you on your toes and guessing. He is also a very charismatic person as well, which coincides with his unique leadership style. It is also thanks to his charisma that the office feels like a family that constantly has to pick up after Michael's mess. But in turn, Michael is a very easygoing boss. For example, during a time of crisis and uncertainty, the whole office, including Michael, were scared of losing their jobs. Although Michael internally is panicking as well, he finds a way to distract his employees by playing a game in the office. This allowed Michael to distract the office from any negative news or thought and allowed them to have an easy team bonding day. Although everyone was worried and didn't want to play the game, Michael made it mandatory for the office to play and everyone followed along. Michael has real power but is not seen as a dictator. He uses his power for the greater good and benefits and insists the people to just follow and trust him. Powers and influence analysis. In season 6 of The Office, while Michael was at the peak of his career, we also started the season where Jim also gets to co-manage with Michael. Although at first Michael was not very compliant with the idea, it was because Michael believed he was getting replaced. After being clarified that Jim would handle day-to-day activities while Michael thinks of big pictures ideas, Michael was very willing to accept, and so Jim gets promoted. Throughout the season, months after Jim's promotion, he was still not acknowledged as such by his peers and customers. Michael still had the spotlight while Jim seemed to be his second hand and not his equal. Rumors have also spread about Jim's authority and its legitimacy. Michael, learning such an ego-boosting rumor, rubs Jim's hair before a conference meeting, physically telling Jim he's a rookie. Jim retaliates in a way that gets Michael embarrassed, but they both resolve the issue. Overall, Michael can let things go to his head too much and be a bit excessive with his power, but is overall a good leader. He does have a good influence over his office, although it may not seem so. He is respected and loved. Jim also finds out the origin of the rumor, granting Ryan his new office space.
As for motivation and empowerment analysis, we have Michael motivating his employees by prioritizing building friendships, followed by fostering sales and embracing genuine connections with others. What was important to Michael was the workplace camaraderie. In season 6, episode 20, the truth lies in the humorously underscores of tangible value of human connection. Whether cultivating internal bonds with your team or external friendships with potential clients, investing time in authentic connections rather than solely fixating on sales can yield substantial returns. Demonstrating genuine interest in your team and clients to gain deeper insights into their lives, aspirations, and challenges. This approach allows Michael to effectively address their motivations and solve problems, aligning with the essence of successful business and leadership. Michael Scott embodied a multitude of commendable traits, ranging from compassion to loyalty. Michael had a distinctive ability to inspire others in a way that set him apart. Accusing Michael of indifference towards employees or his company would be unfounded. While his managerial approach might involve an unusual deep level of involvement in his team's members' lives, he consistently stands up for his team and fiercely defends his branch. Michael demonstrates unwavering support for his employees, recognizing and respecting them as individuals, always providing motivating assistance. And as for empowerment, during season 6, Jim takes on a co-manager position alongside Michael, tasked by David Wallace to allocate raises in the office. There's a power struggle that unfolds, but any squabble between Michael and Jim fade when the rest of the staff learns that not everyone will receive an equal increase. Amid the brewing discontent, Michael dashes out momentarily and returns with 2 world's best boss mugs, brimming with gin. As they share a drink, Michael expresses to Jim his gratitude for finally having someone to navigate the challenges of leadership, setting aside any pettiness to acknowledge and appreciate their partnership, therefore empowering Jim's new co-manager position. Now, in the murder mystery episode centered around the threat to Thunder Mifflin, the entire office is gripped by panic about the company's potential downfall. Even Jim, typically laid back, shifts into hyper-focus mode, attempting to maintain a semblance of normality. While Michael proposes playing a game to lighten the mood, Jim initially reacts with frustration. However, Michael counters with, "They need this game, Jim." Just let us have this stupid little game. In that moment, Jim realizes that Michael isn't acting irrationally. He's intentionally trying to keep everyone calm. Despite sharing the same fear of job loss, Michael sets aside his own concerns to lead the team. While Michael is often oblivious to others' needs, here he unexpectedly taps into an understanding of how to care for his team.
Regarding the topic of morality, Michael Scott's levels of morality fluctuate given different circumstances, but truly shine through when faced with decisions that affect the quality of the workplace. In the episode Classy Christmas in season 7, Michael Scott is faced with the moral decision of how to spend the surplus funding for the Scranton branch at the end of the year. Michael attempts to hear out various concerns, such as the need of new chairs due to back pain complaints and the need of a new copier machine because it keeps on jamming. But ultimately, it leads to a large amount of stress. And even though he's excited to meet their needs, he struggles to pick which need he can meet. Eventually, Michael finds out that he can return the surplus funding to the company and receive a 15% bonus to his paycheck of $645. This option gives him extra money and takes away the stress of choosing which way to office to spend the money. In his attempt to validate this decision, Michael compares the situation of his office workers to the kids in Africa who don't have paper or chairs, telling the workers to appreciate what they have. However, when faced with the potential of angering his office workers by not satisfying any of their complaints, he is forced to take a phone call, and therefore he hides, claiming that his watch is calling him. After more deliberation, Michael ultimately decides to not take the bonus, highlighting his morality for his office workers over his personal gain. In this situation, I would have recommended Michael to address the needs of the employees first, but eventually the new chairs and copiers did make it to the office. Next slide, please. In conclusion, Michael Scott may not be the embodiment of an ideal leader, but ultimately he is a successful manager and leader of the Scranton Dunder Mifflin branch. In season 6, 13 employees under Michael Scott were super concerned for the jobs as mentioned, but he managed to pull through for his followers and get through the difficult time. He was even labeled one of the branch's most successful parts of the company. And even though his childlike mindset can be dissuading sometimes, it is the perfect role for his leadership role in the sense that it prevents abuse of power, promotes fairness, and still exercises his leadership and power. Furthermore, Michael's compassion and loyalty to the successful lives of his employees also pushes him towards success. With this family-like dynamic, Michael is able to empower his employees with his silly games during times of stress, and overall, his morality is not compromised when you look at the big picture. And at the very end, he comes through for one of his employees and shows up to the wedding.
All right. Is that good? Kind of stopped recording.
stopped the
Oh, I
recording?
didn't.